So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And crime. Crime is a funny thing, you know? It is something that can go up or down, or of course stay exactly the same without any increase or decrease in actual criminal behavior. Crime is really whatever we say it is, and just how we decide that we are going to count it, honestly. There is an idea, for example, that people in poorer neighborhoods or rundown neighborhoods are more likely to commit crimes. And I think that is probably not true. I think I may have done another piece on that. But I wanted to give some examples of crimes that, white collar crimes that just don't get counted. Things that they just don't ever get counted. And not even just white collar, violent crime actually can just not ever be visible. We can never see that it exists. And a lot of what's supposed to be crime in poor neighborhoods might just simply be manufactured. To speak to poor neighborhoods, there is the TYT network on YouTube. They used to have, for a short while, a cop from an ex-cop actually. And I think he wrote a book about the fact that when he was a cop, they would have quotas, as in number of arrests they're supposed to have. And he said that when they were not able to meet their quotas, they would go to a poorer neighborhood and just pick up somebody. So one of the hosts, what's her name? I can't remember. She was basically saying, like, for what? And the guy said, anything, it doesn't matter. Jaywalking, or you see someone and you go and pat them down, or just make something up, basically, in order to meet your quota. Now, you can't do that in a rich neighborhood. I think, I wish I had an example of when someone tried to do that. They tried to give tickets for jaywalking, or I don't think littering, but stuff like that. If you do that in a wealthy neighborhood, your boss is going to be calling you, because somebody knows somebody else who's going to complain about the ticket, and then that ticket needs to disappear. Because after a number of complaints, you're going to either lose your job, or get demoted, or given a desk job, or some kind of repercussion is going to happen if you try those things in neighborhoods where people have their own leverage over you. So, obviously, there's a lot of fake crime that happens in poorer neighborhoods. Now, of course, we might say, well, there are a lot of murders in poor neighborhoods. Definitely. There are definitely a lot. There might be substantially more murders in a poor neighborhood. But part of that problem is going to be because you can't solve the crimes, because the people there don't trust you, because you take advantage of them, because they have no connections to be able to do anything to you, and they don't have enough money to fight the cases. So you end up having people who might just be in jail for long periods of time because they don't have any bail. And they may come out traumatized from the experiences of being in jail, just waiting for their case to be dismissed because they don't want to plead guilty. As, the same thing that happened to this kid who was in Rikers Island for, I think, a number of years. And then when he was finally let out, he committed suicide. So there's that. And then when I think about it, my sister used to work at a place where one of the employees was close or had a family connection to the owner. Unfortunately, they embezzled money from the company, but no crime was ever committed because they just made a payment plan for her to pay it back because they didn't go and report this as a crime. A friend of mine spoke about another embezzlement that happened at the bank that he was working at. This didn't necessarily have anything to do with connections. It just happens, as he's told me, that the bank didn't want the negative publicity of the charges. So they just fired the employees that were involved. The crime just never happened. And let's think about this. If this crime affected, other people, maybe the bank might pay them off, maybe it might not. But this large crime, this large big thing that happened, and it might have huge repercussions on lots of other people that might force them into poverty, etc., that it affects so many more people than a stick-up or, a robbery or, stealing something at a store, shoplifting. But these huge crimes might just never be recorded. What happened with Jeffrey Epstein is exactly what we would think might potentially happen when the criminal is a billionaire. They just get away with it, at least for a while, and then just die suspiciously when they can expose everybody else. So there's no case that ever actually happens. And this is not to mention, for example, a guy was saying that people or someone had stolen on YouTube, a YouTuber. He set up a way to just to prank certain people because something got stolen off of his porch. And he went to the police and they said that they don't pursue those cases. So those crimes don't exist. They don't exist. And if 1 year they existed and the police had a policy that they weren't going to pursue those crimes anymore, poof, they're gone. They disappear. And it might be in a very nice neighborhood that might happen. Or, for example, I think there was a guy who, again, I guess this is white collar crime. It's worse because it might actually encourage blue collar crime, but it's less likely for anybody to say anything about it. And I'll give another example. Close to where I was, a young family member, in a fit of rage, apparently severed one of his appendages. And as a result of that, he was traumatized. I guess she was pretty traumatized. But that never went to a court case because no one in the family was willing to provide evidence against the young family member. Who knows, what kind of impact that would have on the relationship or anything else, but nobody's going to jail for that. Or you might have someone who is really wealthy and you would never realize that another family member has to endure domestic violence. And as we're talking about domestic violence, this is one of the things that, I guess I will have another piece on at some point. What has been the result of Time's Up and the Me Too movement? for me, if I'm looking at it and I'm looking at convictions, yeah, people have gotten cancelled. What does that mean? They're not on TV much anymore. They're not going to make money like that. They're not in the newspapers. And, they're not going to be seen too much. A lot of these people are the kind of people who they don't need to have their face on TV to make money. Or they already had so much money. Why are they doing anything to make more money? I mean, for the rest of their life. Macaulay Culkin had nothing to do with Me Too nothing to do with Me Too as far as I know. But he stopped working, stopped acting for a really long time because he didn't need to. When it comes to actual arrests and convictions and stuff like that, there is Harvey Weinstein. There is Bill Cosby. And there is, what's his name? The singer. On a large scale, for all of those Americans, what's really different? Really, what's the difference? I guess people might be a little bit scared to do the same things that they were doing, but anyway, crime and an increase in crime, a decrease in crime, we feel they matter. They don't. It's just often, a lot of times, how people choose to count what is or isn't a crime. Anyway, guys, you can wish me lucks. You can like or unlike. You can comment, share, and or subscribe. And of course, you can do nothing. Peace.